Welcome to the Obesity Medicine Podcast with your host, Dr. Matea Rentia, board certified in internal medicine and obesity medicine. Here, we talk about a path to metabolic health, and we have real conversations about chronic weight management and living a full life. Just a reminder, I am a physician, but I'm not your physician. So everything that's on this podcast is for informational purposes, but please go talk to your doctor about what's right for you. There is no medical advice being given on this podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. How are you all doing? I am definitely starting to feel the longer days. I'm feeling the energy go up. It's so incredible as we always start to head into the days getting back to being longer and the weather being better and things like that, that I say this every year. I'm always like, oh, what was that during winter? Today, we're going to talk about maintenance. This is something that a lot of you, when I've been asking here recently, hey, what do you want to hear episodes about? A lot of you wrote in that this is what you wanted. By the way, I would always like to hear topics that you want to hear below this. There's a thing that's called fan mail, and you can click on that and send me a message. Reminder, it's anonymous. If you don't put an email, we can't get back to you. I would love to hear if there are episodes that you want to hear about. That way I really make sure to keep this podcast relevant. I'm going to go through about 3 to 4, it's about 4 points of what I think is really important with maintenance. Keep in mind that it does not matter if you're on a GLP-1 or not, but I will make a comment. If you're on one, everyone always wants to know, does it stay the same? Does it go down? I'll weave that in, but these concepts really are broadly applicable. So number one, maintenance, it is not a new phase. It's the same life. Maintenance should look almost identical to when you were losing weight. The only difference is that the scale isn't trending down anymore. The thing that I think everybody's always looking for at this magical finish line when I've reached the promised land, when the number is whatever you decided arbitrarily. But the problem is that you have to keep doing the same thing. So there's no return to quote unquote normal eating. You don't get to graduate from habits. It's not like, and then I get to be much more liberal with everything. That's actually really not true. What you've been doing is likely what you need to keep doing to stay where you're at. Now, if the scale keeps going down, that's an indication, all right, we either need to add in more calories, more snacks or food to the meal, whatever it might look like, or we need to decrease the medication because you're too suppressed. But most people will naturally reach a maintenance weight and we will not have to adjust anything, and they stay right where they're at if they're maintaining what they were doing on the way down. The $1 million question is always, do you stay on the same dose or do you go down? And the problem is it's unique for everyone. Most of my patients, because I work with people in my clinic that have a little bit more significant metabolic disease that they're dealing with, most of my people will stay on the same dose for maintenance, like what they will stay on what they were using prior. They will stay on that for maintenance. There are some people where we might either decrease the dose or increase the length between injections, but those are people that usually continue to lose or that they're feeling too suppressed suddenly for some reason, because there's lots of things that can change in your life, but most of the people are staying the same. I will say that I am more a fan of decreasing dose than I am with increasing length, because you can increase the length. I'm typically not going over a 2-week period with that. It ends up being a little bit too much up and down for patients. Let's take tirzepatide as an example. That's Zepbound and Mounjaro. It has a half-life of 5 days. So you have to imagine if you're always taking it at the 7-day mark, you have a certain hill and valley and majority of the time where you're hanging out as far as concentration. Okay, now if you suddenly take that at the 14-day mark, you have had, instead of one half-life occur, you have had multiple. Every half-life means half of it is broken down. I want you to imagine at the 14-day mark, you don't have very much left. You still have something, but it's very little compared to the amount that you had on the 7-day mark when you took it again. I see that if people are trying to do the 2 weeks, they'll end up losing the first the first week, and then they'll gain the next week, and then they lose and gain. And it's like, why are we doing that to you? I don't find that to be helpful. Okay. Thing number 2 here, the best weight, it's going to equal the weight that you can live at. The lowest weight does not equal the healthiest weight. If it requires you to be in misery, to be really rigid, to be obsessive with what you're doing, that's not maintenance. Body composition math, it does not mean anything if it's not sustainable. So I do not care, even if you're going through my body composition course and you're thinking to yourself, different things, how would it apply to you? I don't care if the math, quote unquote, is great. If you can't maintain it, it's not realistic. Okay. I just really want to stress that because people are so concerned. Well, this number still needs to do XYZ. I don't know. Maybe it is or is not possible for your body. That's really where I would work with your medical team because it's very unrealistic often what people are wanting to get to versus what's successful. I have a lot of patients that will pursue skin removal surgery after they've lost a significant amount of weight and they're keeping it off. Oftentimes, they will always think I need to lose more before I can go to the plastic surgeon or whoever they're going to go to get that consult from. And I will look at body composition and go through all that kind of stuff. And I'll say, no, this is the right time. And all the time when they get to that surgeon, they'll say, oh yeah, this was the perfect time to come in. The patient still thought they had 10, 20, whatever to lose, but they were not factoring in skin. They were not looking at body fat composition, what's happening with skeletal muscle. They were not taking all of it into account. They would have sat there and potentially tried to get themselves way lower when it's not where their body wants to live, should live, is right for them. And so again, working with someone can really help with that. Body composition, again, that math, I don't care about it if it's unsustainable. All right, thing number 3, I want you to monitor without morality. I feel like everyone needs to write that down. This applies to everyone, by the way, not just maintenance. Most people, I find it helpful if they have a maintenance range. Usually it's about 3 to 5 pounds up and down. And the reason I say this, you might actually be around the same number majority of the time. But if you're a woman, for example, and you're still having your periods, maybe the week before your period, you retain more fluid because of progesterone. It looks like you're gaining weight during that time, but that's really just hormonally based. And then when your period is gone that next week, you return to where you were before. That's why having one number always need to be the case is just insanity. With travel, it will vary. I don't care how people do this, whether it's tracking weekly, monthly. I find a very helpful thing is to have a regular time you're going to evaluate the data. I actually don't care if you hop on the scale daily, but don't be hopping on the scale daily. If every single day you judge yourself and you're always freaking out, then that's no longer helpful. So are you someone where it would be helpful to do a weekly weight and then once a month you sit down and look at it? Remember, we are always looking for patterns and trends. I don't really care if 1 month you're up a few and then the next month you're down a few. We want to look overall what's happening. But what you will notice if you once a month, the first of the month, I don't care what you do, the first Sunday of the month, decide what you want it to be. But if you once a month sit down and look at your data, you will see, oh, I have been putting on a pound or 2 per month for about the past 6 months. That means that there is something where I need to course correct in the opposite direction, not a lot. Because it's literally like 20, 30 extra calories per day that's happening. But there's something happening where I need to make a small adjustment so I start to go back in the other direction. You're able to look at those trends instead of a single data point. It will radically change your life. Your course correction early means that it's not going to be a crisis. So that's really important. Okay, thing number 4, metabolic adaptation is real. You're doing the same behaviors, but eventually it can yield different results. Weight regain, it can happen even when you're doing everything right. I think this is really frustrating to people. And this is why this is such a hard disease long-term to manage, because you really can still be doing all the things right and struggling. If your doctor is not believing that or is judging you, shaming you, please go find someone else like me that can help you to understand this and help you in a compassionate way. So that doesn't mean failure. It just means we need to adjust things. Realize just because you reach maintenance, it's not like cruise control, I never change anything again. You might not need to change things for 1, 2, 3 years, but I routinely see that people need to make some type of a change within 6 months to a year. Something will have occurred. It might not even be the weight going up, but they might be getting more hungry. There will be adjustments that are made, but that is not like you're doing something wrong. I just really want to stress that. Okay, number 5 here, GLP-1 maintenance. It is not fundamentally different. The principles are the same. The advantage is that you have more of that insulin resistance that's staying treated. You have more of that metabolic health, all the different ways in which it's working. I just mentioned insulin resistance because it's always at the top of my mind. But again, it's helping with all those things. So regain is not inevitable. We see this based on years out with the studies that if you continue on it, that you can keep it off. Again, assuming that you're continuing to do all the lifestyle things that you were doing. Most people will need ongoing therapy. It's just like if it was hypertension. But again, like we talked about in the first one up top, some might need a lower dose, majority will stay where they're at. This is highly customizable where you really need to work with who you're seeing. So I think if you really keep these things in mind, number one, it's the same as any other phase. Number two, the best weight is where you can actually live. So you need to be really realistic with not putting rigid, obsessive things in place that you're not willing to stick with. And you will change over time what you're willing to do. Nowadays, how long I walk, if I would have thought about that 10 years ago, I would have said that never can happen. I shouldn't even start on this. I've changed over time who I am. At this moment, for example, if you told me, Matea, you need to go strength train at a gym 1 hour, 5 days a week, I could not realistically make that work. If it was life or death, I could, but realistically, I would not want to take that on right now. So I will not do that as part of a routine thing if I know I can't stick with it. Little fits and spurts of doing crazy things is not what we're after. Okay, you're going to monitor without judging yourself, without that morality aspect. And I would put it on the calendar. Okay, put on the calendar once a month, make it a recurring once a month. You can do that with Google Calendar. You say, check weight trends or check metabolic health trends, maybe take the word weight out of it. And you just once a month, you're in the habit, hey, this is the day I just kind of look over everything. You're going to keep in mind that with these metabolic adaptations, you might need to adjust things, and that's not a problem. And then number 5, it's not like GLP-1s are creating some type of magical village that's not existing for other people. It's an extra tool that you have in your toolkit, but you're still having to do all the work. There's one other point that I want to talk about, which is not like a main point, but something, just a little thing that I want you to be cautious of that I see. Maintenance boredom is normal. Everybody repeat after me. Maintenance boredom is normal. You are so used to getting dopamine hits with the scale going down, and you're constantly adding and doing new things and doing all that. Now you need to create that dopamine hit in other ways. Now go walk a 5K, go hike a hill, now go pick up some other hobbies. You cannot rely on the scale anymore. Now, I'm hoping the whole darn time you didn't rely on the scale, but if you did, because a lot of you, it's just really human that we're so defined by this box, okay? Or at least how society has conditioned us. Let me put it that way. But it is normal to suddenly say, oh my gosh, what happens now? Okay, you need to now figure out other ways in which you're going to live your life. It's okay if there's a little bit of boredom, there's not novelty, nothing new. That is the promised land where things are boring. We all want to achieve boring. Last thing will be this. If you have some regains, that does not equal relapse. That does not mean that everything is lost. That does not mean a failure. That is actually just part of the natural ebb and flow of obesity. It is a relapsing, remitting condition, means that you're going to have times when it shows up. You're going to have times where you're doing great. If you cannot let that define you and just do some course corrections or check in with your medical team, you just treat this like any other data. When we stop taking it on personally, the results are so much better. It's data. It's not a character flaw. All right. So I hope that these things are helpful for you. If you're someone that you want to learn more about body composition, because you hear me talk about it here, where I'm like, even if you can't achieve those numbers, if you're someone that you want to learn what practically should I be looking for in a body composition report, what are some things I could be thinking about? I have made just a little mini course on that where I take you through what is body composition, what are some of the common ways that it's done, what about the home options. I don't talk about every home option, but I do talk about several. And I talk about the aspect that is unique about this course that I don't see being done out there. I talk about some examples that I see clinically and what is helpful in those scenarios. There's no medical advice, but you get that educational picture that is very hard to see that because you're not really in the office with an obesity medicine doctor all the time. So if you're wanting to see, okay, realistically, here are some goals that I could try to get toward, or why it makes sense really for you, how to look at things. And you want to learn, oh, in this scenario, she tried that, and that was her reasoning. And here she tried that. That would be the course for you. I will have the link for that down below. And also, this is one where you have access to it for life. It's a few videos. And of course, there's always a PDF that goes with it so you can follow the information. This is something where you can come back to it at any point. That's not or you have to get through it quickly or anything like that, because I know this is one of those things where you are going to do it. You're going to get through it real quick. You're going to blast it. You're going to figure things out. And then you're probably going to come back to it maybe 2-3 months later, 6 months later, and you're going to just revisit it. If anything changes my thoughts on the area, I will update the video. I do this once a year. I look through all my courses, even my 5 mistakes that people make on a GLP-1. I recently re-listened to everything, and I wouldn't change how I talk about those things, so the videos remain the same. One of the problems with body composition and stuff like that, you learn more over time. I change philosophies or my thoughts. You should have a clinician that's doing that. So if things change, I will update that course. So again, you have that for life. If I ever change things there, it'll just get automatically updated. I usually send out an email if there's a video has been added to the course site or something's been changed. I usually give you that heads up. All right, that's what I have for you today. I hope you all have an amazing rest of the week, and we'll talk soon. That marks the end of today's episode. But if you're newer to the podcast, I want to tell you about something that we have, and it's a free podcast roadmap. So this is perfect for any of you that are listening where you want to be directed to very specific episodes. So let's say that you are just starting out and you want to know, what should I do right when I start on the medications? Or you're experiencing certain side effects on the GLP-1s, or you want to know what to do if you're in a plateau, or if emotional eating is taking over, or if hunger levels are high. So we have many different categories of episodes that we've talked about, because there's a lot at this point. So if you want to be able to navigate that very easily, we have it broken down by category, and also the episodes that are there, and we hyperlink to everything. So you can just click on it and find the episode, easy peasy. If you want that, you can go to rentiaclinic.com/podcast roadmap. We'll have it linked right here underneath the show notes where you're listening. And you can go ahead and get that free resource so that it makes it easy for you to navigate, because I know that it's really hard when someone has an established podcast. I am such a podcast fiend, listening to podcasts all day long. And when I find one that I love, but there's a lot that are out there, I am so lost. So I hope that you enjoy this free podcast roadmap. Again, the link to get to that is going to be rentiaclinic.com/podcast roadmap. I hope this is helpful, and let me know if you have any questions.